Hello Admirals and welcome back to my channel where I talk to you about Battlefleet Gothic, the space fleet game based in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. So I think we're up to our last starter fleet video. I think the Craftworld Eldar is the last official fleet out of all the mainline factions that I haven't talked about yet. So the good old Craftworld Eldar operate very, very similar to their Corsair Eldar Kin. They use many of the similar rules that they have, as the same as the pirate kind of raiding Corsairs. And you can mix the fleets together. You've got to have officially in the law a very, very important and upstanding leader. So someone like Uriel from Iyanden, he brought both Craftworld and his Corsairs together to create a big fleet that took on the Tyranids in the lore. So they do play a lot like them. They have less options per se, but they allow you to be a bit more customizable with your fleet. And one of the big bonuses of the Craftworld Eldar is they have better armour than their Corsair brethren. So in this video I'm going to talk about a 1500 point starter fleet for Craftworld and go into a little bit of details on those. So here you go, Admirals. This is a 1500 point Craftworld Eldar fleet, kind of a basic generic one. I actually have three Craftworld Eldar fleets. I have Bill 10, Samhan, and my own, which is Lan Ruin. And it's kind of a mix of the three, just to showcase a few of the different colour schemes I've got for it. But essentially, the fleet itself was not released in any of the books. It was released as like a separate PDF. It was kind of a supplement, per se, and it was all around Iyanden and its defense of its Craftworld against Tyranids. And they brought this in as kind of the fleet that was then utilized by Prince Uriel and Iyanden to defend against it. So you actually only had 4 different ships that were actually produced. You had a Wraithship, or Ghost Ship you can call it. You had a Dragonship, which I showed a bit earlier. You had Shadowhunter escorts, and then you had Prince Uriel's own sort of ship, which was the Flame of Azurin. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. That you could put in, and that was kind of a character ship. And what was kind of unique with this fleet in comparison to the Corsair Eldar is that you can mix and match what goes on these ships. So essentially, you can decide what you put on these escorts, the same with the Ghost Wraithship, and the same with the Dragonship. So you could mix and match how you wanted it, and that would allow you to customize the fleet in your own way. So in this particular sort of configuration, we've got 2 dragon ships, 4 ghost ships or wraith ships. Ghost ships have their own kind of set rules in it, but they're kind of separate. But these are wraith ships. And then we have a squadron of 4 of the Shadowhunter escorts. Now, like I said, they operate in a move, shoot, move way, the same as the Corsair Eldar. So no kind of fancy rules there. But the big bonus, as I said, is that they have a better armor. So the Corsair Eldar have only typically armor 4. All of these typically have an armor 5. So they can stay in the fight a lot better than their Corsair brethren. And I think the reason for that is typically that these ships in the lore are made out of wraith bone, essentially. So don't believe what current GW is saying. These things are sung into existence by bone singers. I'm not having any of that new lore fangled stuff. These ships are sung into existence, which is pretty cool. Sorry if you're hearing my dog there in the background. But like I said, so you've got 1 squadron of escorts. They're really quick. They can go up to 30 centimeters, and then the rest are a little bit slower than that. But typical Eldar fast shenanigans that they can cause, as well as then having all the typical hollow field saves that you would have with Eldar. Their weapons batteries are always closing. Their Pulsar lances are the same as the Corsair Eldar as well. And they have torpedoes and bombers the same as well. So very similar rules. they're just stronger. They're a really actually quite a powerful fleet, to be perfectly honest. And the ability to be able to mix and match and decide how you want to utilize them is also quite powerful. So in this particular instance, the 2 Dragonships have weapons batteries on them, along with launch bays. So they can hit hard, and they can release those really powerful Eldar strike craft and ordnance. And then each of the Wraithships all have Pulsar lances on them, and all have torpedoes on them. Now, I don't mind mixing and matching. I actually quite like, personally, putting torpedoes and weapons batteries on the Dragonships, and then putting the ordnance, the fighters and bombers on the Wraithships. You can mix and match and swap them out. It's a pretty unique sort of situation there. But in this scenario, weapons batteries, torpedoes, Pulsar lances on each one of these, and the ordnance. And then in the Shadowhunters, 2 with Pulsar lances and 2 with weapons batteries, and that can really add a nice little punch into it. But there's nothing stopping you adding more ghost ships or wraith ships, I should say, into the fleet over dragon ships and things like that. You can mix and match as you like. They're, like I said, they're a very customizable fleet, and the dragon ship is kind of the better ship of the line. They're kind of I'd say, for want of a better term, they're more like the heavy cruiser, battle cruiser kind of style for this fleet, whereas the wraith ships are kind of more the standard cruiser, light cruiser kind of feel, if that's the best way of putting it. You can also, with the Iyanden fleet, and put in the character ship, which is the Flame of Azurin. This is a little bit upgunned dragon ship, essentially. It's got a little bit of better weapons batteries. You can put and it's got a couple of Pulsar lances on it as well as I believe having torpedoes as well, or launch bays as well. So it's an all-round quite powerful ship. It's over 300 and so many points. So it is an expensive ship, but it is a quite powerful one. So worth considering putting that in, say, one of the dragon ships or something like that, and one of the wraiths, because it really does. It's never failed me, quite frankly. I've never had this when I've had it in the fleet. Never failed me. It's a good ship. But that's kind of your standard, a very generic kind of starter fleet for Craftworld Eldar. They operate very, very similar to Corsair, like I said, so you do want to use them the same. You want a glass cannon, you want to get in fast, hit hard, and run away and avoid. But they're a little bit more forgiving than regular Corsair Eldar because of that additional armor. So if you do make a mistake and they get a little bit out of position and you can be a little bit outmaneuvered or something like that, they can stay in the fight a little bit more. So they're not made of completely of wet tissue paper in this particular fleet. So that does mean, because of that, you can be a little bit more aggressive with these ships, but this fleet lends itself quite nicely more to the cruiser base than the Corsair Eldars, which lend themselves more to an escort-heavy fleet. So you typically will probably have less ships in this fleet than their brethren, or certainly you'll have more cruisers, but potentially less ships overall. But because these are pound for pound a bit more expensive than their Eldar Corsair brethren. But like I said, you can be a little bit more aggressive with these ships because of that additional armor bonus. So there you have it, Admirals. Craftworld Eldar fleet. Really, really strong fleet, quite frankly. And because of that customizable nature, you can make it to kind of your own. You can go full Pulsar, you can go full weapons battery, you can do more ordnance platforms, and that sort of thing. So it really does lend itself to how you want to play, which is a little bit different to kind of what the regular Corsair Eldar act like. You could be a bit more aggressive with them, like I said, with the Armour 5 that they have on them. And one last thing, there's a lot of amazing designers out there making kind of ships that fit the aesthetic of the Eldari quite nicely. And I will just mention 2 lovely 3D ships that I have that you can get on the regular 3D. So you've got this awesome, cool ship called the Sunjammer, and this awesome Wyvern ship that you can add in as well. And both these ships would look nice in the Corsair Eldar fleet as well, I think they would work. But personally, I kind of like the Wyvern. It looks good. And there are rules, the community have created rules for these that you can add in, fan-made rules that you can add into those fleets as well. Certainly worth having a look at, because there are some pretty ships out there. But yeah, that's your 1500 point list for Craftworld. Yeah, we're at the end of all the starter fleets now. I may have now a look into, in future videos, more unofficial fleets, or things like that, or maybe some things that are in the lore but not quite fully developed into their own separate fleets. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. Until then, lovely to see you all, Admirals. If you have any comments on the Eldar Craftworld that you'd like to include, please put them in, and I'll see you again soon.